and go right between Doritos and GoDaddy. That's an inside joke for those that follow Super Bowl advertisement. I see Munch smiling.
The sponsors for today's broadcast is Rabbi Michal Levine in honor of his granddaughter's wedding. Okay. So to sponsors for tonight's broadcast, thank you very much, Akiva. Thank you very much again for bringing me to my friends during the chasna and bringing my friends to me. I really do appreciate it. Okay, the sponsors for today's broadcast are Michal Levine and Mechuna Malcolm in honor of his granddaughter's wedding that will take place Be'itoy Usmani from Kaimoy in Far Rockaway this coming Wednesday. And there's a schus for a full shalema for his brother of Aaron Ben.
Toba Etel.
Toba Etel should have a full shalema. And by the attendees of the shiur in honor of my daughter Malkys and Zevi Weingarten's birthday. I'd like to thank everybody much for that as well. And by Yossi and Vivian Mermelstein, the nishmas Ya'akov ben Avraham Yehuda, whose Yartzeit is this coming Friday.
Yes,
correct?
That's correct. And then the other sponsors, Shaya Schachner, Shaya and his Mrs. Schachner, liluy nishmas Shaya's mother, Shaindel bas Reb Dovid, whose Yartzeit is also Friday.
So we should have an aliyah. Okay. Zok the Haley B'Gomor. Whenever you do a malacha that would otherwise be a malacha, but you're being destructive, when you do that, that will be potter, because malachas are only constructive activities. Tani Rabavo Hamed Reb Yochanan. All learned in front of Reb Yochanan. Kol hamakalkalin keturim. Anytime you're destructive, you're potter. Now our Mishnah says that without conditions, but the BRUISE that your Avo just quoted has a condition: chutz mechovel u'mavir, except for chovel and mavir. So let's see where chovel means you punch a person and you cause him to have a bruise, and mavir is lighting something on fire, burning something. So let's see what Rashi says. Very interesting, how to define whether or not it's chayiv or not. Chutz mechovel ba'adam, if you're chovel a person, the mekalkal. Chovel in an animal is not necessarily mekalkal. Sometimes you want to shecht an animal to eat. That's not mekalkal. But there's no place where chovel ba'adam could be mesakin. Now that's something that's disputable. There are people that might argue that and say sometimes a good zetz for a person could be a plus. But for the most part, chovel ba'adam is being mekalkal. The chayiv. How do you know that you're chayiv misa or a korban chatos or korosh if it's been nated? If someone makes a chavala on his friend on Shabbos, poter milashalom, he doesn't have to pay the din imamnus, the nesek tsar ripoy sheves and boishes, but they should need to benavshtoi, since it's an action that also has a chiyuv misa associated with it. And therefore, we have the klal of kom lei b'derabbaminei. Whenever someone does something that's a chiyuv misa, and in conjunction with that, he's doing something that's mechayiv and mammon, he's potter from the moment because the capital punishment, even if he's not literally having capital punishment, because this might only be shogeg, nevertheless, he's potter from any monetary responsibility that action would cause him. So this is clear cut. It's clear cut that chavala for the sake of damaging with no constructive purpose, must be a malacha d'oraisa, otherwise there would be no chomer b'drabbanan. Same thing mavir. Mavir is a kodesh. If you light up your friend's pile of grain on fire, mekalkalu, that's also completely destructive. The chayiv, and you'd still be able to pay if you did it on Shabbos. So we have two proofs that chayvel and mavir, even if you're damaging, it's still a malacha. So these are two very unique malachas. Every other malacha has to be constructive. These two malachas, even if they're destructive, you'll still be chayiv. We need to know why. We need to know where you see that. And this is all what the Gemara is going to bring out today. Omer lei, Reb Yochanan told Ravo, Puk Toni Levra, take your Mishnah and get out of here, because it's a nonsense Mishnah. It's nonsense what you're quoting. Chayvel u'mavir ain't a Mishnah. There's no such Mishnah that says that Chayvel and Mavir will be chayiv even though you're Makalko. Mishnah, and if you're going to say that the Mishnah says that it's chayiv, that's not a problem, because choivel b'tzorach lekalboy, the chavola where we say brings upon a person achiv misa, that's not when it's done in a destructive fashion. Rather, that's done because he needs to get blood out of somebody to serve his dog. I guess they thought that was helpful in those days. They needed blood. And mavir, the tzarech lafrei, someone needs ashes. Someone needs ashes. So it's not completely destructive. Correct the Gemara, but it still says it does say in our Mishnah kol hamataltlin pturin. So it seems to be a dispute. So tomorrow Masnisin Reb Yehuda, BRUISE Reb Shimon. The Mishnah is going according to Reb Yehuda, and the BRUISE is going according to Reb Shimon. Now we need explanation as to what's Reb Shimon and what's Reb Yehuda. So Rashi says, Masnisin Reb Yehuda, the Mishnah that says that Mekalko, the Chabur is potter, someone who makes a Chabura, which is a Chavola, and he's only being destructive, it's potter because there is no chiyuv for any malacha if it's Mekalko, including Chabura.
Yeah, what is it?
That's what our Mishnah holds. And that's why our Mishnah is Mekalko and Paturin, no matter what. So Rashi tells us that Reb Yehuda is the one who holds like our Mishnah that holds across the board. If it's Mekalko, it's not Chai. So Rashi, below Yispar Sheikha. I don't know where this Reb Yehuda is that says that Mekalko the Chabur is Potter. So Rashi Velinira, but I could use a shtik alumnus, I can use what's called Talmudic reasoning to figure out from a different halacha that Reb Yehuda says, and from there I can figure out that he must hold that Mekalko the Chabur is Potter, meaning if you're doing a destructive action, even in the malacha of Chabura, you'll still be Potter. And how do you get that? So Rashi has a very interesting approach. Masnisin Reb Yudhi, the Amr Malacha Shein Shricha Legufa Chayiv. We already know the famous Shita of Reb Yehuda that the Malacha Shein Shricha Legufa is Chayiv. What's an example of a Malacha Shein Shricha Legufa? If I'm Chayvel in somebody because I needed blood, the Malacha is being Chayvel. Needing the blood is not the purpose. It's not the primary purpose of a Chavala. Or take Maver, for instance. When I burn something, the purpose of burning it is to destroy it. I happen to need ashes, that's a side thing. So both these two things would be a malacha shein shricha legufa. Rabbi Yehuda holds your chayiv in those cases. Hilchach, therefore, see, we have a problem. The Torah tells us that chavola is asur. The Torah tells us that havara is asur. But if the only way to have an example of chavola or havara are destructive, then we have a problem. But since Rabbi Yehuda holds that malacha shein shricha legufa is chayiv, therefore the alternate purpose of this malacha counts according to Reb Yehuda. So now I have a simple way to understand what the Torah means when the Torah says, "Thou shalt not make a chaval on Shabbos. Thou shalt not light a fire on Shabbos." It's referring to a constructive purpose. The constructive purpose is the alternate purpose, but according to Reb Yehuda, an alternate purpose is just as if it's a primary purpose. Hilchach chayuv de chayvel. Where did the Torah mean your chayiv for chavala? Is b'tzarech l'kalboy, when you needed the blood to feed your dog. Or mavir, when the Torah said you're chayiv for lighting a fire, it's because it had a constructive purpose to it. B'tzarech l'efrei mishkachas lo. Da'afal pida mekalkel hu etz malacha atzma, even though the primary purpose of the malacha is lekalkel, misaken hu etz alacher, but legabe the secondary purposes of this malacha, it is misaken, and according to Reb Yehuda, a secondary purpose is just as good as a primary purpose, because he holds malacha shein shricha legufa is chayiv. Reb Yehuda ki ha gavna malachu mishum tikun acheret. Avu makalkel ve'enim masaken. If there is absolutely no constructive purpose whatsoever, even as an alternate purpose, then Reb Yehuda would agree that makalkel and maver would both be potter. The afagav the reishit of astisim who committed Reb Shimon. Rashi, a beautiful kasha. We just learned that the ratio of the same Mishnah has to go according to Reb Shimon, who holds that malacha shricha legufa is potter. Now we want to say the Seifa talking about kol makalklin is going according to Reb Yehuda. That's just the way it is. Falvagav the ratio of Maslisin who came to Reb Shimon, Tani Karei al Meisei Potter. Seifa would be Rabbi Yehuda, Since Reb Yehuda holds malacha shein shvicha legufa is chayiv, he could learn that when the Torah says mavir is a malacha, or choivel, or chavola, chavur is a malacha, that's in a case where there's a secondary purpose to it that would be constructive. But a BRUISE Reb Shimon holds malacha shein shvicha legufa is potter lah. So therefore, if the Torah is machayiv you for chavola, it has to be a chavola where its primary purpose is latiko, not lakilko. It has to be a fire whose primary purpose is latiko, not lakilko. There is no such thing. There is no such thing. Hilchach must be ein lachayvu l'maver she'ein mekalko. There is no such example. It's impossible to find a case of chayvu l'maver that's not destructive. Va'afilu maver eitzim l'kirasa. Even if you're burning wood because you want to cook or bake with it, that's also mekalkolu eitzim eitzim. The direct malacha that you're doing to this wood is also destruction. That you're getting a side benefit from the flame, that it's cooking for you, that's not the primary action. That's the secondary action. Reb Shimon and we all know that Reb Shimon doesn't give any credence to a secondary action or a secondary result. And Reb Shimon holds that malacha is potter. So what could possibly be the explanation as to how someone is chayiv for the malacha of chabura or for the malacha of havara? It must be a special gzeres hakosov, special limud, that even though for all other malachas to be chayiv, it has to be constructive. Havara and chavola can be destructive and still be chayiv as a first class malacha. Like we're going to see soon psukim that state that almost explicitly.
So, in other words, a wrecking company would...
it's very constructive.
Huh?
It's very constructive.
Very constructive.
Yeah. That's right. Zog the Heilige Gemara. So, Mastizin, Rabbi Yehuda, and BRUISE Reb Shimon. Zog the Gemara. My time of the Reb Shimon. Where did Reb Shimon get this from? That in fact, destruction is a malacha. There's a specific pasuk that we have that's a matter someone to do a bris on Shabbos, and we know it because this is Uvayim Hashmini Yimoil B'Sar Alasai. The Uvayim is extra to tell you about Filu B'Shabbos, and Mila is a chavola. You're causing a wound, and since the Torah had to explicitly tell us that one may do a Mila on Shabbos, it's proof positive that if it wasn't a Dvar Mitzvah, you would not be able to do it. So you see clearly that mekalkol b'chabura is a malacha deraisa. That's how you see chavola. What about havara? When the osir achmon havara have a bas koyin, the halacha is a bas koyin who's mezana. She gets the misa of sreifa, and there's limudim from a pasuk to tell you that you may not give her that misa's besdin on Shabbos. So you see, if I need a pasuk to tell you that lighting a fire for the purposes of a mitzvah, which is the killing of a bas kohen who's mizama, even though it's destructive, you have a raya that maver ba'al machayiv, that a normal avar, even though it's destructive, you're going to be chayiv. And that's a mikor for Reb Shimon. And this is a Reb Shimon was mekel in malacha shein shvicha legufa. He's mekel in Rosh Mechaven. But when it comes to chabura, it's a big kula. I'm sorry, it's a big chumrah that even though you're mekalkel b'chabura, even though you're mekalkel ba'avar, there's still a chiyuv deraisa. Reb Yehuda, how does Reb Yehuda explain Mila? Mila is destructive, yet you need a pasuk to tell you that you're allowed it. Why would you need it? When you're doing a Mila, you're actually doing something constructive. When you're killing somebody who's mechuyev misa, you're doing something constructive. K'derbashi, Bashi, ma lila sakan Mila, ma lila sakan kli. What's the difference between fixing a keli and fixing a person? It's a takana in the person. It's an upgrade. Mali levashal psila, mali levashal samana. What's the difference if you're cooking the lead to burn the person, which is again to fulfill the mitzvah pestin? Mali levashal samanim. If you're cooking samanim to make a dye, they're both constructive. Now the way I touched this was according to Tosfos. I didn't touch it according to Rashi. Rashi learns mali levashal psila. When you're cooking the lead is constructive because you might be using the lead. You can use lead for a constructive purpose as well, to form it. Here we're using it to pour down this person's throat. But cooking lead is in and of itself is constructive. The reason why I didn't learn this pshat, I learned Tosfos this pshat, is because Tosfos has a bomb kasha of this pshat. Toys's Bam Kasha is, okay, that explains what a Misa of Sreifa might be at the Kana. But how about the other Misa Bezdin, which doesn't involve cooking lead? How are those at the Kana? The Toys's learns that anything involved in the Misa Bezdin is at the Kana because you're doing what the Torah says, and it's actually helping the person as well, because the person gets a kapara through their Misa. So now we have a beautiful machlokes. If mekalkel b'chabura is chayav or potter, if mavir b'chabura is chayav or potter, Reb Yehuda says it's potter, and Reb Shimon says it's chayav. Reb Yehuda says it's potter because you could say that where the Torah says that there's an isser of chabura and there's an isser of mavir, it's in a place where there's a side benefit from it, and according to Reb Yehuda, a side benefit, which we'll refer to as a malacha shenshricha legufa, is also chayav b'deraisa. Zok the Gemara Vayter. Shir Hamalavin. How much do you have to whiten a piece of thread, or comb a piece of thread, or spin a piece of thread, as the Mishnah said? So the Mishnah says it's the shear of a double sit, which means the distance between your middle finger and your pointer finger. It's double that distance. So this is about 2 to 3 inches. So double sit would be about 6 inches. We had another pshat. What he would do is he just held his finger out like this. From here to here is 6 inches. So instead of going from here to here double, just go from here to here, because that's the same thing. So Pashup pshat is, it's 2 different ways of expressing the same distance. I didn't look at the article today, but I noticed on Friday that he has an explanation as to what's the significance of the difference between the 2 ways that this same distance was expressed. So I don't remember what he said, but I remember he said something. That he displayed the space between his thumb and index finger, which is equivalent to double the length of the space between the index finger and the middle finger, mentioned by our Mishnah. Sfas Emes finds Rashi's explanation difficult because the dispute between Reb Yosys and the B'chia Bar Ami does not result in any practical difference. He therefore suggests an alternative explanation of the Gemara. Oh, so I remember that the article said something, but he doesn't actually quote the answer. I usually find that when the answer is short, sweet, and sharp and to the point, the article will quote it. If it's a long, dragged out explanation, the article just tells you where to go. Okay, let's see the Gemara Vayter. I wanted to look it up today in the Mesivta, but the Mesivta, I realized not only in the Agudah do people steal Sforim when they need them and not share them with everybody and put them back on the shelf. It goes on in other shuls as well. So the shul that I was in today, the Mesivta on today's plot was missing. And I couldn't scream at anybody because I was a guest. Zok the Heilig Gemara Vayter. Reb Yehuda Omer, Hatzod Tzipar Lemigdal. If you capture a bird into a migdal, Rashi says, Ad Shechnise Lemigdal, Mishtayr Balaz. So it has to be in a, that's how we attach the migdal. It's a closet. So it's much more contained in a smaller space. Chayiv, that's how you capture a bird. If you just let it into your house, that's still not considered captured. The bird can easily escape. Once it's in a closet or in a bird cage, that's when it's considered tzad. So a tzad tzipar lamigdal or a tzvila bayis. If you're bringing a deer into your house, chayiv, then you'll be chayiv. I agree with you, Rabbi Yehuda, as to what constitutes capturing a bird, and that has to be into a migdal, into a closet. However, I disagree with you, lagabe, what the parameters are for capturing a deer. Tzvi legina. The tzvi doesn't have to be so contained in a house. Even if it's in your garden, that's good enough. Ulachatzer, or to a yard. Ulabibrin is a pen. That's like a typical pen you see when you drive into Victoria Lakes. You see the areas have those wooden fences of wooden logs piled up on one another, and inside they usually have animals. Chayiv, that would be considered captured, and that's chayiv. Not all pens are created equal. Zakla, if it's a pen that's big enough or configured in such a way where I still have to run after that animal, it's going to take me a little bit of effort and time to actually get it, and I'm potter if I lock it up in such a pen, because that pen isn't really considered captured. If it's in the pen where I just walk in and grab it, then chayiv, then you're going to be chayiv because that clearly is considered already captured. And when I type the word bibrin as a pen, bibrin is a looser word. It's also used as a place where fish are stored, and it would be like a fish pond. So bibrin is like an area where you store animals, a pen or the marine equivalent of a pen. And I don't mean a pen like this. I mean like an animal pen. Zogt Elad Gemara Vayter. Kanan Hosa. We don't in the BRUISE. Ein tzodin dogim min ha-bibra b'yom tov. You're not allowed to take dogim out of the bibra on Yom Tov. That's interesting. If you're not allowed to take dogim on the bibra on Yom Tov, that means it's tzod by taking it out. So that obviously is saying that putting it into the bibra in the first place was not tzod. Because if it was tzod, then taking it shouldn't be a problem anymore. So from this BRUISE that says Ein tzod dogim min ha-bibra b'yom tov tells us also that capturing a dog in the bibra itself has got to be mutter, because you're not doing anything. They noisten the flame is on this. If there's fish in a pond, you're not allowed to feed them. Rashi says, what Toshus argues on, but Rashi says that you don't give them a zoynos because kivan dehin muktzah. They're muktzah when motzoei l'mitra chalai. You're not allowed to be matriach yourself for them. Zog the Gemara weiter. Avol tzodin chaya v'oif. You can
So
capture.
Yom Tif, on Rosh Hashanah, when you go to Tashlich and you take the crumbs and throw it into the water.
Yeah, they're not really feeding fish. That's a river. They're going anywhere. You know, when we're talking about feeding fish, if they're contained in a pond or in your fish bowl, then you wouldn't be able to. But in a river where they're not captured, they're free. So you're not even throwing it at them. You're not really feeding them. If you're going to feed them, you probably have a problem. Avotzodin chaya v'oif. You are allowed to capture a chaya and oif on Yom Tov. The noisten lefnei mizayis. And then once you capture them, you're allowed to feed them. We're really practical, Mark.
You're allowed to feed the fish on Shabbos. I just asked Charlotte last
Which
week.
fish do you mean?
The ones in your house.
Your own fish. Yeah, your own
Right.
fish you're allowed to because
Count on you.
Because you have responsibility for them. So we're talking about fish that are not sodden. You see, fish that are not considered captured yet, it's those fish that you're not allowed to capture, that you're not allowed to feed on Shabbos. But fish that are captured are your responsibility, and you're allowed to. Atazoi. You could feed yourself gefilte fish as well, or you could feed the gefilte fish with grain. You're allowed to put grain on the gefilte fish because you're responsible for it. Okay. Now the reason
Fish
why
in Victoria Lake one day may be yours. Somebody like Tzvi who's going to catch a fish. That fish he's planning on catching that fish.
So he's like Hansel and Gretel. I'm going to feed you now, but when you're fat enough, I'm going to eat you. Okay. It's interesting to note that why is this all about Yom Tov? The answer is because you're not allowed to be tzad chayav oif on Shabbos. You're allowed to be tzad chayav oif on Yom Tov because you want to eat it. But on Shabbos, you're not allowed to prepare yourself food. So it's only on Yom Tov would it be allowed to capture something to eat. Or a mini fact Gemara. Bibrin shal chayis v'shal oifis v'shal dogim. If you have pens of chayos, oifos, and dogim, ein tzod mehen b'Yom Tov. You're not allowed to take out of these pens on Yom Tov. They nois no flame is oinus. So frankly, makosha chaya achaya, because here it says bibrin shal chayis v'shal oifis v'shal dogim ein tzod mehen. So here you see you're not allowed to take chayis out of the pen. The BRUISE we just learned says beferish avol tzodin chaya from a pen. So this BRUISE says you cannot. The first BRUISE says you could capture a chaya from a pen, and the second BRUISE says you are not allowed to capture chayas from a pen. The same problem is kasha chaya chaya kasha oifos oifos. Again, the first BRUISE says that you are allowed to capture oifos from a pen. The second BRUISE says you cannot capture oifos from a pen. So what is it? So tomorrow bishlam achaya like kasha. Maybe it's not shver. The two BRUISEs, one that allows you to capture a chaya from a pen and one doesn't. I'll say ha Reb Yehuda ha Rabban. One's going according to Reb Yehuda, and one's going according to their bone. Who's Reb Yehuda? So Trashi, he, the Ein Sodom, the price of attention not to capture, is Reb Yehuda. The Masnisin leichoshev latzeda achichnis lebayis. Reb Yehuda in our Mishnah specifically said that he said atzad tzipor lemigdal utzvi labayis chay. So Reb Yehuda, who's the first time of our Mishnah, held that an animal in a pen is not considered captured. So you wouldn't be allowed to take an animal out of a pen on Yom Tov because that's capturing it. However, an animal that's in your house, only that's considered captured. So you could say, the BRUISE that says you're allowed to take animals out of a pen is going according to the Rabbanan, because once it's in a pen, it's considered captured. But the BRUISE that says you're not allowed to take animals out of a pen, that's going according to Yehuda, because Yehuda holds being in a pen does not mean an animal is considered captured. Oif is kosher, because Reb Yehuda also said oif is in a migdal. Both the Tanakama and Yehuda, everybody agrees an oif in a migdal is considered captured, otherwise not. So how do you explain the machlokes between our brises if oifis in a pen are considered captured? The chitema oifis nami lekosher. If you want to suggest that the stira that we have between whether or not you're allowed to take oifis out of a pen on Yom Tov is shver, I can answer ha biber mekoyer, ha biber she'eni mekoyer. If it has a cover, if this cabinet has a cover, that's considered captured. That's the BRUISE that says you're allowed to take a bird out of such a pen on Yom Tov is talking about if it's a covered cabinet, so it's much more contained, and therefore the bird's considered captured. Where the BRUISE says you're not allowed to take a bird out of a cabinet, out of a beaver, sorry, not cabinet, out of a pen. That's where it didn't have a top to it, and therefore it can get away. Zok Gemara doesn't make sense because v'habayis the mekorahu, a house which we know a bird in the house, l'chula in our Mishnah, is not considered captured until it's in a closet. V'habayis the mekorahi, ubein l'Reb Yehuda, ubein l'Rabbanan. Everybody in our Mishnah agrees that tzipar lemigdal in l'bayis loy. The bird is not considered captured until it's in a cabinet. In the house, it's not good enough. Zok Gemara. So kum techois, how could you tell me that it makes a difference if it's covered or not? Even if it's covered, according to our Mishnah, it wouldn't be considered captured. Zok Gemara. Amar Rabbi Barafuna Hacha b'tzibur dror askinan. Really, if it's in a biber makura, it's considered captured. And really, we're going to go back to our teretz. So we said that the BRUISE that says you're allowed to take a bird out of a pen, it's speaking where the pen had a cover. And the BRUISE that says you cannot take a bird out of a pen, it's speaking where it's not covered. Our Mishnah is so much more restrictive and needs the bird to be in a cabinet, like in a cage. Our Mishnah is speaking about a much more wild, natured bird. It's a wild bird that refuses to accept ownership. It runs away, it escapes. Such a bird, until it's in your cage, it's not going to be considered captured. But a regular bird would be captured if it's in a pen that's covered, although if it's in a pen that's not covered, everybody agrees that it would not be captured. Zokt Rashi, the tzibur dror, masnid nekatani tzibur labayis lois, the tzibur dror askinan shadaka loder bebayis kibasada. It lives at home, it lives in the field, but the nishmas mizavos lazavos, it can get around, it can escape. It's a tough guy, and you can't catch it so easily, and therefore it has to be much more captured to be considered captured. The Tana de Reb Shmuel, the Lama Nikra Shma tzibur dror. Why is this type of bird called a tzibur dror? It behaves in a house just like it behaves in the field. It runs wild. It doesn't know what inside voices are. It's always wild, even inside. Now that we've already explained this chiluk between a pen that's covered and a pen that's not covered, we no longer have to say that the two brises, one's Reb Yehuda, one's the Chachamim. You could say chaya namalei kasha. You could say there's no steer in the brisa between the brisa that says a chai you may take out of a pen and the other brisa that says a chai you can't take out of a pen. Because ha bebiber gadol, ha bebiber cotton. If it's in a big pen, then you're not allowed to take it out because it's not very well captured. But if it's in a small pen, then it's considered captured. How do you quantify How do you know what's a big pen and what's a small pen? So heichadami biber gadol, heichadami biber cotton. Amar Bashi, kol heichad deroit basrei motle bechatzi chaya. It's a biber cotton. If you're running after this animal to take it, and then you just need to take one big step and you can grab it, that would be considered a biber cotton. If you need to run after it a little bit, that would be considered a biber gadol. You would not be allowed to do that again. Another pshat is.
A big pen has a top you can take off.
I'm sorry?
A big pen has a top you can take off, and the other pens have clickers on top.
Are you reading that from the Art Scroll?
No, I'm just saying. What you want to know what a big pen is? A big pen, you buy them at.
A big pen. I'm sorry. It went right over my head.
You got slowed down in Lakewood.
I'm telling you, it's all that Corona going there. It's all that Corona in there. Okay. Anyway, I got very hungry today because I was by two different Rabbanim shuls, and one Rav was saying, why did it say levavchem before nechem? Isn't it ayin roy of leif chaymed? The Torah is talking about your tivets. So the Rus says, lama zugen, a mensch hat lieb a gitte, fette, schmalzige cornbeef sandwich with a cold soda. Tu nicht trachten von dem ganzen Tag. Now I know what I'm getting this guy for Shalach Manas, because I know what he's thinking about a whole day. And then tonight, I was by Shalosh Shudas, another dude was saying, oh, when a Yid macht a simche, kauft a shiny stickel kokos cake. So now we know what he's thinking about. Okay. It's so funny from when the Rav is describing his tivus, you know what he's thinking. I hope. The idich biber gadol, and the rest. Another one's a biber gadol, inami, or another way to distinguish between a biber cotton and a biber gadol is kalecha de nofel tula diksolim ahadodi. Any pen who, when the sun is shining, the shade of one gate reaches the opposite gate, that's called biber cotton. Vidich biber gadol. Now this is very not quantitative. Okay? How do you know exactly what that is? So Tosfos says something interesting. I'm not sure I know what it means, but I'm hoping you'll help me understand it. Tosfos hoyelahem shir haksolim shave for yoyden shirin. Does this mean that they had a standardized type of pen, and the two standard sizes, one the shade reached from one wall to the next, and the other one it didn't? Is that how the other understands it? I'm not sure what this means. I just need help. Hoyelahem shir. They had a shear. Haksolim hoyelahem shir haksolim shavet. He had, or it means there are two parallel. So it sounds like they had a standardized pen. And being that it was a standard size pen, there were certain pens that their standard size. Their standard size meant that the shade from one wall wouldn't reach the next, and that was the type that we're talking about. That's small. Okay, let's see what the Gemara says. Weiter, there's a third option for what a pen is. If there's corners and little areas where the animal could hide in the pen, which means it'll be harder to find it because the animal could dodge around things, that's called a biber gadol. But if there's no little areas, crevices where the animal might hide, which would make it much easier to capture and get, that would be called a biber gadol. Zok Tehel Gemara Vater. Shimon ben Gamliel in our Mishnah said that it's a little interesting because that's really what we just said regarding the previous shittas. So the Gemara is going to get down into this. Zok Tehel Gemara Vater. Amar Vidom Rav. Amar Shmuel. Halacha Ker ben Shimon ben Gamliel. Halacha is like Shimon ben Gamliel. Akiva, when you're looking at the screen, do you see my screen like jumping in and out, or is it holding steady? Because on my screen, it seems like it's jumping in and out.
It's holding steady.
It is holding steady?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
What did you drink today?
That's what I'm thinking. I had a cocktail of various. Let's just put it that way. Amalei Abaye.
That was before or after the caterer spoke to you?
Listen, I couldn't understand. I was having such a nice time, and I couldn't understand why the chitna was making weird looks at me. I didn't know why. When I woke up, just kidding. Okay, Zok Gemara Vater. Amar Reb Yosys, Amar Yehuda, Amar Shmuel, Halacha Kab Gamliel, Kab Shimon ben Gamliel. Amalei Abaye, I don't understand. Halacha If you're saying that Allah is like a Shimon Gamliel, that means somebody argues on it. But who's arguing on it? Nobody argues. Dr. Rashi, nobody seems to argue on him. Where's my Rashi? We just said a moment ago that the Rabbanan agree that a biber cotton you're allowed to take from, and a biber cotton you can't. So what are you telling me, Allah? Amalei, why are you making such a big deal? Kosher came. That's what I meant. There's talking about machlokes. That's what it looks like him. So Abai got frustrated. So he started hacking the Chinese. Gemor, some more to tay. So Rashi says, what does that mean? Some more to tay. You stop ploitering. You're saying things without any importance to it. You're just repeating something that's obvious. So Abai didn't like when someone would say something that was obvious. Speak chedushim, speak chachma. Okay, so the Gemara about it. Tanur about natzvi suma. What if someone captures a blind deer, or v'yoshan, or the last person I know who captured a blind deer captured it on his windshield, and it didn't end well. In hatzvi suma, if someone captures a blind deer, v'yoshan, or a sleeping deer, chayiv will be chayiv. You know why? Because that animal, even though it's blind or even though it's sleeping, if you go for it, it'll get started and run away. So by the fact that you're containing it, you're doing tzad. But chiger, if it's a hinkadika deer, if it's a limping deer, a zokin or an old deer, a chayla or a sick deer, meaning it can't run away from you anyway, potter, you're potter, because it's nitzad v'aymed. This is already pre-captured. Omalei abayli Reb Yosys, maish nahani. What's the difference between a blind deer and a sleeping deer versus a limping deer or an old deer or a sick deer? The ones that are blind or sleeping, they'll get startled and they'll run away. Hani, the other group, loy avidil rebuye, they're not going to run away. Rashi touches the word rebuye, is lishomet. He'll jump away. Kishumargishin yad odom. When it feels the hand of a person grabbing it, it'll run away. In fact, Gemara, how could you say that if you capture a deer, that's a choyle your potter? Well, Tanya, we learned to BRUISE, it says if you capture a deer, that's choyle your chayiv. Shayas, it depends on the sickness. Like kasha, if it just has a fever, then it's going to run away. If the sickness is machmas uftzno, Rashi ayefus, it's exhausted. She'ena yachal also been koima, he could barely move. Nitzad v'ayimhuru, that's nitzad v'ayimhuru. Taner Rabban, hatzot chagovin, if someone captures grasshoppers, Gazin, Rashi says, are types of grasshoppers that are kosher. Sirin, some type of fly, Yitushin, wasps, Shabbos, chayiv. Diver of Meir. Kol shebemina nitzoid, if it's something that people capture to eat, for instance, then chayiv. If it's not normal to capture something like that, then that's not called a normal capturing, and that's potter. Tanya, hatzot chagovin b'shas hatal. If you capture chagovin when it's very moist outside in the wet season, Rashi's in the wet season, these grasshoppers go blind. They're basically immobilized when they're blinded, unlike a deer. Chagavim are immobilized when they're blinded, and therefore you're potter because you didn't really capture anything. But b'shas hasherev, if it's dry and windy, where the chagavim have good eyesight, and there they'll escape. So by you capturing them, you're actually capturing something chayiv. Elazar ben Havoy Omer, if there's a swarm coming at you, you should hold your hand up and you caught it. Like if you stand by the bima by an oifruf, you just hold your hand up and you catch all the pekalach, then potter, then you're going to be potter because you didn't do anything. Iboilu, Elazar ben Mavoy, a reishagoy or a seifikoy. So what was Rabbi Elazar ben Mavoy saying? Was he saying that b'shas hatal is potter only if it's a swarm, or was he saying b'shas sheriff chayiv, but if it's a swarm, you would not be chayiv? Zaktumora Toshma. The BRUISE says it very explicitly. Hatzot chagavim b'shas hatal potter b'shas sheriff chayiv. Elazar ben Avoy Omer afilu b'shas sheriff. Even if it's a time where their eyes are opened and normally it would be chayiv for capturing one, if it was a swarm coming at you, potter, then you're potter because that's not capturing. So clearly, Rabbi Elazar ben Avoy was saying his chiddush l'kula. Zogt Gemara weiter. Tzvi shenichnas labayis. A tzvi that walked into a house. It's not captured because the door is still open. V'nol echad b'fanav. And then someone closed the door. Closing the door captured the deer. Chayiv. What about no l'shnayim? If two people close the door together, most doors don't need two people to close them. So this was a malacha that could have been done by one person, and it was done by two people. And we had a shita in the Mishnah earlier that says that a malacha that's designed to do with one person, and it's done by two persons, that's not the normal way to do it. But they're both potter. But what if it's lo yachad echad linoil? If it was a very heavy door and one person on their own could never have closed this door, and therefore we know l'shnayim, and then they both participated in the malacha together, in the malacha together to capture the deer. Then the chayavim, that's the normal way of moving such a door. But Reb Shimon Poiter, Reb Shimon Paters, because we learned also my achas meina, Reb Shimon learns that a malacha has to be done by one person. No matter if it's a malacha that needs two people, it doesn't matter. The only chayiv for a malacha if it's done by one person and one person alone. Zok el gemar. Amar b'yom yibah abba amar shmuel. Hatzor ari v'Shabbos. If you capture a line on Shabbos, which is sometimes what the Gabba tries to do when he wants Ari light with the David, he has to chap an Ari, and then he gets a good bal tefillah. So if you chap an Ari on Shabbos, you have to take it in a secure cage, because if you take the line into your living room, it could break out. It can destroy everything in its path. But if it's in a secure cage, only then would it be considered captured. The deer goes into the house. It can get out. And then you have one guy stand by the door, but there's still enough room in the doorway for the deer to squeeze out because this person doesn't fill up the whole doorway. And then Yoshev Hasheni, Umilayu, and then a second person came and plugged up the final hole, and now the deer is prevented from leaving. Hasheni Chayiv, the Sheni is Chayiv. That's called first past the post. First past the post, the person who crosses over between a deer that can leave if it wants to, and the deer that can no longer escape, that's the person who did the malacha.
What if they both come at the same time?
If they both came, assuming that it's Efshel Tzamtzei, if they both did it at the same time, then it's probably a case of Shnaim Sasu.
Right.
Shnaim Sasu, if both are needed, and in this case they both are needed, according to the Shita, that they're both needed, they probably would both be Chayiv. And according to Reb Shimon, they would be public. And that's just a guess, but it's a good point that you brought up, because it helps us clarify things. Yoshev Arishno al Pesach, Umilayu. What if the first guy was a Kanai Nahara? He was a Kanai Nahara guy. I saw a lot of Kanai Nahara guys today. What's that?
Busser.
Sorry?
He's the ball busser, like Rav Papa. Like Rav Papa.
That's right. And he covered the whole door. And Uboah Sheni V'Yoshev, and then the other guy came and sat behind him, which is basically a third wheel, Yoshev V'Sidoi. So there for sure he's potter. But Afal Pisha Amar Harishan V'Holachlai, even if the first guy gets up and leaves, nevertheless Harishan Chayiv. Because the Rishon is the person who changed the status of this deer from non-captured to captured. But Vasheni Potter, the second guy is going to be Potter because he didn't capture the deer. What would this be similar to? Lenoil right? A guy closes the door of his house because he wants to lock the door to his house so no robber should get in. And there was already a deer in his house that was tied up. He didn't do anything at all. And therefore, the second person is going to be Potter. Okay? I think we finished off.
Yossi.
Yes.
When the two guys are sitting there, the ratio of the Mishnah, and the second guy sits down, he's chayev. But if that first guy is not there, then it still could have escaped. So why is the first guy totally potter?
Could you repeat that question?
You have two guys. One guy sits down, and there's still a way for the deer to go through. Then the second guy comes, and he sits down there next to him, and it blocks it. Now, if the first guy wasn't there, it could have gone through. So the first guy was either Misayeya or he should be part of the problem.
So, it's a very good point. So that's what I want to bring up. That's why it's called first past the post. The person who changes the status of this deer on non-captured, captured, the person who gets it over the finish line, he's the guy that's chayiv. And he got it over the finish line. when the first guy was sitting there, this animal was not partially captured. It was not captured at all. It can't be half pregnant. It's either pregnant or not pregnant. This deer is either captured or not. When the first guy sat there, he didn't capture it. Second guy captured. Yes, he needs the first guy there, but it doesn't matter. I'm the one who changed the status of this animal from non-captured to captured. Thank you for bringing that up. Because that's sort of first past the post. It's not equal representation. It's not
Did we lose
proportional
Yossi's
representation.
audio?
I'm sorry? Are we good?
Yeah,
Okay, so what time are we learning tomorrow?
10 o'clock.
Did you say
I mean,
9?
9 o'clock, 9 o'clock.
9 o'clock. And are we having an earlier shiur as well? Akiva, what are the minyanim times? Like, what is the other when they come in the morning?
Same as every day.
Which is
Same as every day.
we normally learn 6:15. We started learning 6:15. Are we going to learn 6:15 tomorrow, or are we going to learn 6:30?
I think the other ones have Rahmanus on you.
I'm fine. I'm perfectly fine. So we could do 6:15 tomorrow. That works for me perfectly. So should we make up that's what it will be? I'm getting silent treatment over here.
Okay, with 6:30.
6:30 is good? Okay, so 6:30 it is. So tomorrow morning, B'et Hashem, at 6:30, we will learn Daf Kuv Zayin. Thank you very much.
And 9 o'clock. And 9 o'clock, right?
At 9 o'clock, correct. We'll have a 6:30 and we'll have a 9.
Okay, good talk.
9 o'clock,
Thank you.
Yossi, just a reminder at 9 o'clock to open the Zoom room before Lo Yada B'Shichvo